The morning my husband disappeared, I thought the worst thing I'd find was an empty closet. Instead, I found a message that erased 15 years of my life in 11 words. We're in Cancun. Together. We're never coming back. Don't try to find us. Asterisk. It wasn't from my husband. It was from my younger sister, Ava. I stared at my phone so long that the screen dimmed, as if even it couldn't bear to keep those words alive. My coffee had gone cold beside me, and somewhere upstairs my 12-year-old daughter, Lily, was humming while getting ready for school, completely unaware that the foundation beneath our family had just collapsed. I read the message again. Then again. Every time I hoped another sentence would appear. A joke. An explanation. Anything. Nothing did. I called Daniel first. Straight to voicemail. I called Ava. Blocked. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because my brain refused to believe two people I'd trusted more than anyone else had decided to destroy my life before breakfast. Mama. Lily called from upstairs. Where's Dad? He said he'd drive me today. I swallowed the scream climbing into my throat. He had to leave early for work. The lie tasted like broken glass. By noon I had discovered Daniel's passport was gone. So was Ava's. Their shared airline reservation arrived in my email by accident because Daniel had once used my account to book family vacations. 2 one-way tickets. Cancun. Business class. Paid with our joint savings account. Not just our vacation fund. Our emergency savings. Lily's college account. Almost everything. When I logged into the bank, I felt physically sick. Years of overtime. Years of skipped vacations. Years of saying, maybe next year. Gone. Daniel hadn't just stolen money. He'd stolen every sacrifice we'd ever made. Mom called before dinner. I've been trying to reach Ava all day. I stayed silent. Honey, they're together. What do you mean? They ran away. Another silence. Longer this time. Then, no, she texted me. That has to be some misunderstanding. I almost admired how quickly denial arrived. It isn't. I'll call your father. You do that. They'll explain. No, I whispered. They already did. I hung up before she could defend either of them. That night Lily found me sitting on the kitchen floor. Mama, I looked up. She held Daniel's favorite sweatshirt. I wanted to wash this. My chest tightened. When is Dad coming home? Children ask questions with hope. Adults answer them with fear. I opened my mouth 3 different times before words finally came. I don't know. She frowned. Did you fight? No. Then why did he leave? I wished betrayal came with language a child could understand. Instead I hugged her so tightly she whispered, Mom. I can't breathe. I loosened my arms immediately. I'm sorry. She looked at me with eyes far wiser than 12 years should allow. Did he leave us? That word. Us. Not you. Not me. Us. I nodded. She didn't cry. She simply folded the sweatshirt, placed it on the chair, and quietly walked upstairs. That silence haunted me far more than tears ever could. The gossip spread faster than the truth. Neighbors whispered. Coworkers stared. Someone anonymously mailed me a postcard from Cancun. On the front, a beach. On the back, you always wanted the perfect family. Guess I wanted your husband more. Asterisk. No signature. She didn't need one. I recognized Ava's handwriting instantly. I sat in my office bathroom shaking so hard I dropped the card into the sink. A coworker knocked. Emma, are you okay? Food poisoning. Technically, my life had poisoned itself. 3 weeks later the divorce papers arrived. Daniel wanted everything handled quickly. He claimed our marriage had been emotionally over for years. He accused me of being controlling, cold, unavailable. He even requested partial ownership of the house I'd inherited from my grandmother before we married. The audacity almost impressed me. His lawyer included a settlement proposal that left me with the mortgage while Daniel kept the investment accounts. Investment accounts funded mostly by my salary. I called my attorney that afternoon. Her name was Nora Bennett. She read every document without interrupting. Finally she removed her glasses. Tell me something. What? Did your husband always underestimate you? I blinked. I think so. Good. Why? Because people who underestimate intelligent women usually leave evidence. I leaned forward. What kind of evidence? She smiled. The kind judges enjoy reading. For the first time since everything happened, hope appeared. Tiny, fragile, but alive. Nora asked for every financial record I possessed. Tax returns, emails, property documents, business records, text messages, cloud backups. If it exists, she said, I want it. I spent days digging through years of files. At first I found nothing. Then, one folder, hidden. Daniel thought deleting something meant it disappeared forever. He forgot I managed every backup in the house. Inside were hundreds of emails, transfers, private messages, receipts, vacation planning, not for Cancun, for nearly 2 years, hotels, jewelry purchases, luxury dinners, everything paid through accounts he insisted were business expenses. My hands trembled as realization settled in. They hadn't fallen in love recently. This had been happening while he kissed me goodbye every morning, while Ava hugged me at Christmas, while we celebrated Lily's birthdays together. 2 years, 730 days of lies. I cried until there were no tears left. Then I organized every file into labeled folders. If betrayal wanted to hide inside paperwork, paperwork would become its prison. One evening Lily walked into my home office carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. I made these. You did. I watched a video. She handed me one. It was terrible. Too much cocoa. Not enough sugar. Absolutely perfect. She looked at the stacks of documents. Are you doing homework? I smiled for the first time in weeks. Something like that. Will it make Dad come back? No. Good. I stared at her. She looked out the window. I don't want someone back who wanted to leave. I reached across the desk and squeezed her hand. When did you get so wise? She shrugged. When I stopped waiting. Children shouldn't have to grow up because adults refuse to. But she had. And so would I. Not through bitterness. Through purpose. Another month passed. Daniel finally called. I almost didn't answer. Emma. His voice sounded relaxed, like we were discussing dinner plans instead of the ashes of our marriage. You've made this harder than it needs to be. I laughed. I'm the difficult one. You'll never win in court. You sound confident. My attorney says everything is straightforward. I glanced toward the neatly organized binders covering my dining table. I hope he keeps believing that. There was a pause. What does that mean? It means Cancun must have terrible internet if you haven't checked your financial records lately. Silence. Real silence. Then, what are you talking about? You'll find out. I ended the call before he could ask another question. For the first time since reading Ava's message, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. And somewhere far away, beneath palm trees and borrowed happiness, 2 people who believed they'd escaped consequences had no idea that every lie they had carefully built was about to walk into a courtroom and meet the one thing they had never planned for. The week before the first hearing, my dining room no longer looked like part of a home. It looked like a war room. Every folder was labeled. Every bank statement was highlighted. Every transfer had a timeline. Every email had been printed twice. Nora walked around the table slowly, stopping every few seconds to examine another stack. I've seen people try to hide affairs, she said. I've seen people hide money. Your husband tried to hide both at the same time. Is that good? For us, she smiled. Very. She pointed to a receipt. This watch. It was supposedly for a client. It wasn't. She picked up another page. This hotel. Business conference. No conference happened there. Then another. This jewelry purchase. He told me it was a retirement gift for his boss. Nora looked at me. It was delivered to your sister's apartment. For months I'd blamed myself for not noticing. Now, seeing every lie arranged in order, I realized something painful. I hadn't been blind. I'd been trusting. There was a difference. Mom showed up unexpectedly one afternoon. She looked older than she had only a few months earlier. Her eyes were swollen. I need to talk. I almost closed the door. Instead, I stepped aside. She sat quietly in the living room, twisting her wedding ring. I spoke with Ava. I didn't answer. She says she loves him. Good for her. Emma. No, I just want. I know what you want. She looked down. You want me to understand. I want my daughters back. You still have one. That sentence hit harder than I intended. Mom covered her face. I failed both of you. For the first time, I believed she meant it. She admitted something that explained years of resentment. When you were children, Ava always believed she lived in your shadow. I laughed bitterly. My shadow. You were responsible. Calm. Everyone praised you. So she stole my husband. I'm not excusing her. It sounds close. Mom shook her head. I think she spent years believing happiness was something she had to take from someone else. I stared toward the window. Then she's going to spend years learning it doesn't work. 2 days later, Daniel made his first mistake. A very expensive one. He posted pictures online. Apparently, paradise had become boring enough that he wanted attention. Sunsets, champagne, private yacht, luxury shopping. A caption read, "Starting over with the woman who truly understands me." Asterisk. Thousands of strangers liked it. Nora almost framed it. He's claiming financial hardship in court, she said. And posting pictures of a yacht. He has no self-control. She immediately requested updated financial disclosures. Within 48 hours, more records arrived. Hidden accounts, cryptocurrency purchases, international transfers. Money had been moving long before he left. So he planned this. He absolutely planned it. Can they deny it? They can try. Lily pretended she wasn't curious about the hearing. She never asked directly. Instead, she'd ask questions that circled around it. Do judges get angry? Sometimes. Can people lie in court? They can. What happens then? If someone proves they're lying, they get in trouble. Usually. She nodded thoughtfully. I hope somebody tells the truth. So do I. That night I found a folded piece of paper on my bedroom door. It was a drawing. 3 people. Me, Lily, our golden retriever, Max. Daniel wasn't there. Neither was Ava. At the bottom she'd written, "Our family is smaller now. But it's honest." Asterisk. I cried harder over that drawing than I had over the divorce papers. The hearing finally arrived. I hadn't seen Daniel in nearly 3 months. He looked different. The expensive tan couldn't hide the exhaustion around his eyes. He wore a tailored suit I'd probably helped pay for. Ava sat behind him. She looked confident. Until our eyes met. For just a second, she looked away first. Good. The courtroom wasn't dramatic like television. No shouting. No surprise witnesses. Just quiet tension. The kind that made every cough sound deafening. Daniel's attorney began confidently. My client seeks an equitable division of marital assets. Nora stood. We agree. Daniel actually smiled. Then Nora continued. Provided the court first accounts for approximately $487,000 in concealed marital assets and fraudulent financial transfers. His smile disappeared. His attorney frowned. I'm sorry. Nora calmly handed over the first binder. Then the second. Then the third. The judge adjusted her glasses. What exactly am I looking at? A documented timeline covering 2 years of undisclosed expenditures, hidden accounts, false expense reports, and transfers made while the respondent knowingly misrepresented household finances. Daniel turned toward his lawyer. His expression changed. Confusion. Then panic. He hadn't expected this. His lawyer whispered urgently. Daniel shook his head. No. The judge looked over another page. This appears extensive. It is, Your Honor. Nora's voice never wavered. We have emails, invoices, travel records, banking documents, cloud backups, and communications directly connecting these expenditures to the respondent and Ms. Ava Collins. Ava's face turned white. For the first time since this nightmare began. She looked afraid. Outside during recess, Daniel caught up with me. Emma. I kept walking. Emma, wait. I stopped. What? His confidence had vanished. You could have talked to me. I laughed. You sent my sister to break our marriage by text. I was going to explain. When? He hesitated. I don't know. Exactly. He lowered his voice. What do you want? There it was. He still believed everything had a price. I already have what I want. What? The truth. He looked genuinely confused. No, you thought money mattered most. It does. It mattered to you. I stepped closer. I spent months believing you'd destroyed my life. And, you didn't. He frowned. You revealed who deserved to leave it. I walked away before he could answer. The second hearing uncovered even more. Daniel's former business partner testified that several company reimbursements had been fabricated. A forensic accountant explained how money had been disguised through multiple accounts before ending up funding vacations, gifts, and luxury expenses. Each explanation chipped away at the image Daniel had carefully built. Then came the moment no one expected. The judge asked Ava a simple question. When did your relationship begin? She answered confidently. After Daniel separated. Nora stood immediately. Permission to impeach the witness. Granted. She projected an email onto a courtroom screen. Its date was almost 2 years before Daniel had left home. Another appeared. Then photographs, restaurant reservations, flight confirmations, messages signed with hearts and promises. The room became painfully quiet. Ava stared at the screen as though willing it to disappear. Daniel closed his eyes, not because he was ashamed, because he finally understood something. The lies that had protected them for 2 years were collapsing in a single morning, and there was nothing either of them could do to stop the avalanche that had already begun. The silence that settled over the courtroom wasn't dramatic. It was heavier than shouting. The judge removed her glasses, folded her hands, and looked directly at Daniel. Do you wish to correct any portion of your previous testimony? His attorney leaned toward him, whispering urgently. For the first time since I'd met Daniel, he looked like a man who had run out of answers. I relied on my accountant. The judge's expression didn't change. The emails discussing these transfers were written from your personal account. He swallowed. I don't remember every message. Nora calmly slid another document across the table. This one was sent 3 months before the respondent abandoned the marital residence. The judge read it silently. Then she looked up. Once everything is transferred, Emma won't know until we're gone. No one spoke. Not even Daniel's lawyer. There was simply nothing left to argue. When court adjourned for the day, reporters gathered outside the courthouse steps. Apparently, a local business owner accused of hiding marital assets while fleeing the country with his wife's sister made for irresistible headlines. Microphones appeared out of nowhere. Care to comment, Mrs. Carter? How do you feel after today's hearing? I stopped. Months earlier, I would have hidden. Now I look directly into the cameras. I hope anyone going through betrayal understands something. The crowd quieted. You don't have to become cruel to become strong. Then I walked away. That evening my phone buzzed constantly. Former neighbors, old coworkers, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some apologized for believing the gossip. Others admitted they'd assumed I was exaggerating. I answered almost none of them. Validation from strangers couldn't heal wounds they'd never witnessed. A week later, another surprise arrived. Daniel's former assistant requested a meeting. I know this is strange, she said nervously, sitting across from me in a small cafe. But I can't keep pretending I didn't know something was wrong. Her name was Claire. She placed a small flash drive on the table. What's this? Copies. Of what? Everything he told me to delete. I stared at the drive. You kept them. I couldn't explain why at the time. She looked genuinely ashamed. He'd ask me to change invoice dates, rename expense reports, schedule meetings that never existed. Why are you giving this to me now? She sighed. Because I have a daughter. Our eyes met. If someone ever treated her the way he treated you, I'd pray another woman found the courage to do the right thing. I reached for the drive. Thank you. No, she smiled sadly. I'm sorry it took me this long. The files were devastating, not because they revealed another affair, because they revealed intent. Daniel hadn't simply fallen in love with someone else. He had spent nearly 2 years planning his exit while ensuring I would be left with debt, legal complications, and as few resources as possible. There were spreadsheets estimating how long it would take me to recover financially. Emails discussing whether I would be too embarrassed to fight. One sentence stopped me cold. She always chooses peace over conflict. She'll sign whatever we put in front of her. Asterisk. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop. They never knew me at all, I whispered. Nora reviewed the files the next morning. This changes everything. How? It establishes deliberate financial misconduct. She looked at me carefully. They weren't just dishonest. They planned to ruin me. Yes. The final hearing arrived on a gray morning. Lily hugged me before school. You look nervous. I am. She smiled. You always tell me nervous people are usually the ones who care. I did say that. So, caring isn't weakness. I kissed her forehead. No, it never was. The courtroom felt different this time. The confidence Daniel had carried into the first hearing was gone. Ava wouldn't even look in my direction. The judge reviewed the findings slowly. Every page, every transfer, every contradiction. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but unmistakably firm. The court finds substantial evidence of intentional concealment of marital assets and repeated misrepresentations. Daniel stared at the desk. The respondent's credibility has been significantly undermined. His attorney closed his folder without saying a word. The rulings came one after another. The hidden assets were included in the marital estate. Daniel was ordered to reimburse the funds improperly transferred. His request for any interest in my inherited home was denied outright. He was ordered to cover a significant portion of my legal fees because of his conduct during the proceedings. When the judge finished, she looked toward both of us. This court cannot repair broken relationships. She paused, but it can ensure that dishonesty does not become profitable. The gavel struck once. It was over. Outside the courthouse, Daniel approached me one last time. There were no reporters nearby. No audience. Just the two of us. I lost everything. I looked at him quietly. No, he frowned. You gave it away. He shook his head. Ava and I weren't worth it. He couldn't answer. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered Lily waiting for a father who never came home. I remembered the postcard, the lies, the empty bank account, the nights wondering how I'd keep our lives together. Sympathy disappeared. I hope you find whatever you were looking for. I turned to leave. Emma. I stopped without facing him. I really did love you once. I nodded. I know. That was the tragedy. Not that he'd never loved me. That he had, and still chose betrayal. 6 months later, Lily and I painted the kitchen ourselves. It wasn't perfect. Neither were the walls. We laughed when we accidentally splattered paint on Max's tail. The house felt lighter. One afternoon, Mom came over carrying a box of old family photographs. There are pictures of you as a little girl, she said. I noticed Ava wasn't mentioned. I haven't heard from her. Mom looked down. She moved out. And Daniel, they separated. I wasn't surprised. People who build relationships on betrayal eventually begin wondering who will betray whom next. Mom hesitated. Do you miss your sister? I thought about the question carefully. I miss the sister I believed I had. That person no longer existed. Maybe she never had. That night Lily and I sat on the back porch watching the sunset. Mom, yes. Do you think bad people always lose? I smiled. No. Then why are you happy? I looked across the yard, where the flowers we'd planted in spring were finally blooming. Because happiness isn't watching someone else fall. I slipped my arm around her shoulders. It's realizing they no longer have the power to make you